this is going to be our second and final test day with the C6 Corvette competition drift build before our first round of competition with it, and this will be the first time testing it with body panels on, so we'll get to see if all of our cooling stuff actually works. You know, we tested it as a cart with everything open, but how is it going to act with all the body panels closed up? The hood vents, the blower fans, you know, all the stuff that we've done to try to prevent heat soaking issues. Is it all going to work? Is the car going to still be happy with body panels on it? So it's pretty exciting. We'll also get to see it drift as a Corvette, you know, not just buggy kind of thing. And this is really kind of the moment of truth. We don't have a lot of time to re-engineer anything if it doesn't work out, if the cooling system isn't adequate. So we're crossing our fingers and hoping this goes well. Now, before we take off to go drive this thing, we've got a few projects to knock out. So I started working on a rear mount for our roof. So we originally started with a Z06 chassis. We now have a non-Z06 chassis. Now the Z06 has a removable roof, but it's bolt-on, whereas the factory base model Corvette has a kind of clip-on roof, you know, a technically removable targa, whereas the C06 one is not really meant to be removed. So point is, the mounting stuff that we have to mount the rear of the roof is not going to work. We're going to have to make something. So pretty simple little aluminum bracket I whipped up, just a rectangle with a couple of bends in it to basically get it up to the height of the roof so that it sucks the roof down nice and tight. We don't want this thing flopping around. We don't want any of our body panels flopping around. So I get it cut out of some scrap, I get it bent, I get the holes drilled, I get them tapered, just to add that nice little finish, and then we get it tossed into the car and see if it all works. Unfortunately, we did our math right, we did our CAD, our cardboard aided design right, and it fits just as it should, bolted in nice and tight, sucked the roof down. A1, we're good to go. So Josue was working on putting our clutch delay valve in. This is going to basically slow down the release of the clutch just to help save some wear on drivetrain components. While he was working on that, I wanted to work on wheels and tires. So we had got our new shipment of wheels in from TSW. We've got a bunch of rears, which we need, and some new narrower fronts. We originally spec'd out our fronts off of our other angle kit, which didn't have quite as much angle as our new kit, and we could maximize and get more angle if we had a narrower wheel and tire package. So I pulled the front tires off the old wheels, the 9.5s, and got ready to swap them on to our new wheels, which are 8.5 inches wide. Now the hope here is that we will be able to utilize about the same amount of angle, but narrow up our front track width, and that would allow us to put the car in the trailer forward, which would be ideal. So we get that done, and then all that's left is really fluids change. We need to change the gearbox fluid and the oil. Now, we can drain the oil without pulling the fender, but the dry sump vent tank is kind of just in a tough-to-reach spot at the moment, so we have to pull the fender to drain it. We'll probably add a hose and a ball valve later just to more easily drain that, but with all of that done, we pull this thing off the lift, and it's time to put it in the trailer, but more importantly, see if it goes into the trailer forward, which would be a game changer. Backing this thing in the trailer is not fun. So the car went in the trailer. By the skin of its teeth, it rubbed basically both inner fenders on the way in, but we got it in forward, which is awesome, and we hit the road and headed to Orlando Speed World for a private test day track rental to put this thing through its paces. All right, well, we are here at OSW again for our second test day in the C6 competition drift car build. This is going to be our first test day with the car with body panels. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this car, I've been building this thing for about 6 months now. It's got a 427 cubic inch Borowski race motor, big single turbo. You know, we built the whole turbo setup. We did everything on this car, tip to tail, but it's a full spec comp car. It's got a dog box race transmission. It's got a winner's quick change. It's got a rear mount radiator, fuel cell, all the things. So we built this to replace my LS Miata, which I've been competing with for the last 3 years. We've been outgunned in that car forever, and we decided to just go all out on building a new car, so we can't ever feel like we're outgunned again, assuming we get this thing dialed in. So again, second test day, first one with body panels. So this is gonna be time to see how our cooling works, how all the provisions we did to keep things cool works, all that stuff. The only thing we're missing is the Lexan rear window. We didn't have time to get that installed. So that'll be one more thing, but this should give us the gist of if this thing's ready to go for comp in 1 week. So we're cutting it close, but we're gonna drive it, have some fun, and just enjoy it, honestly, because it is a whole new experience driving this car for me. It is one of those things I've always dreamed of, having a car like this. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm pumped. Let's go drive. Sway's coming for a ride. This will be anyone's first ride in the car, slash Sway's first ride. Cars at the track don't like to scoot up as often because it's like every time you gotta clump this thing So instead of being super easy on the car and taking long breaks, I was trying to kind of hot lap the car as much as I could and really put it through its paces, because we're not going to have the option to take breaks at the track during competition, so we need to know now if we're going to have any problems. So just doing laps back to back, trying to cool the tires down and just see how she holds up. I forgot to start data logging, so halfway through the corner I'm literally trying to get this thing to start data logging mid-run. Alright, we're gonna go try some tandems with a LS swapped Mark III Supra. Definitely the most similar to my car here. We got some really good fitment. Alright, first chase run. Yeah, that section of the track is like extra slick or something.
Camera down, coming around here, I can't see.
Yeah.
I went blind trying to fly in there.
Mine too. Oh, so you turn it off and leave the pump on?
Yeah, and the fans just let it go for.
Yeah, I have a button override to do that, but I haven't put it yet. So during these tandems, I'm not necessarily trying to absolutely do everything I can to run door. I mean, it's a practice day. You never want to push super hard on just a practice day and mess up your car for nothing, you know. But two, I'm really just trying to get a feel for what the car does in tandem. You know, if I need to left foot brake, if I need to throw some angle at it, if I need to handbrake and get back on throttle, how do all of those things feel? And so far, it's feeling great. It's feeling better than I could have expected. It's still going to take some time for me to get used to it, but I think we definitely got a solid base to work from, and hopefully we should be able to figure it out pretty quick. So after tandeming, I decided to finish off this pretty dead set of tires by taking the car on the oval. Again, not going for any sort of hero run here, just want to stretch the car's legs a little bit, even though we're not going to have much grip because the tires are dead, just see how it behaves on a different kind of track and surface. So we decided to shred one more set of tires on the skid pad, put some more grip in it, and just see how it is. Again, we're trying to put this thing through its paces and make sure it's ready for competition. well, we made it back from the test day. The car performed super well. I am so happy with this thing, man. I'm really over the moon. Cooling system was phenomenal. Virtually no change from when the car didn't have body panels on it. I started playing around with utilizing the electric water pump, and it is amazing on this car. I have it to where I can turn a button on and run the pump and the fans with the car off. And I was blown away by how fast this thing cools off when you do that. Literally drops about a degree a second. I turned it on, I'd say at 210, and within about 30 to 40 seconds, it was down at 180, which is absurd. That is gonna be a huge help for turning this thing around for one more time battles and stuff, because with the LS Miata, with the mechanical pump, it only cools down if you leave it running, and it doesn't cool down very fast, and you just end up heat soaking it when you start getting into the later battles and you're trying to turn the car around quick. So really, really happy with that. Really excited. This cooling setup we have seems to be working pretty well. The only thing cooling wise that the car did kind of struggle with, and I don't think it was really much worse than when the car didn't have body panels, I just was looking at it a little more this time, was intake air temps. Now, the good thing is they're not bad when we're drifting the car. You know, when I start the run versus in the run, it might only gain 8 degrees, you know, on a hard run, beating the snot out of it, bouncing it off rival emitter. So everything's sized correctly. We're not out of the turbo's efficiency range. We're not pumping a bunch of hot air, anything like that. It's just the nature of the intercooler and where it is, there's no airflow, you know, when we're sitting there idling. So it never really gets an opportunity to cool down. So it just slowly kind of, every 5 degrees you add, kind of just stays there. So that's something I'd like to address. The simple solution is we're gonna get a water sprayer and probably have Josue or Raldo on grid with me and just spray it down and practice between runs. It'll be fine for a battle, but just to cool it down so it doesn't heat soak over a 2-hour session. Now, I was trying to avoid that. I really wanted this car, even though it's way crazier, to run like the Miata. The Miata is a pretty hands-off car. Like, I don't even have one of them on grid with me. We don't touch it. We rarely even open the hood. But when you go to a way crazier car, you gotta make some sacrifices. So there's some other things we're gonna do. I wanna put some fans on it. That's been on the plan. I wanna heat shield the charge pipe to the intake just because it goes over the turbo setup. I think that'll help some. So some things there. But overall, man, I could not be happier with this car. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm really stoked on the way it's looking too. I'm really happy with the fitment. You know, tucking those meaty tires down there, a little bit of gap, a little bit of poke in the front, like, whew, I'm just pleased with it in every single way. Now, we still got some aesthetics to do. Obviously, the major one is wrapping the car. I need to get a front splitter since I got the wrong one, but she's getting there, man. She has come a long way, and she's performing well. So, obviously, we'll have to see how it goes for tandem battles. You know, people had their doubts that I would be able to drive a car like this. It would be so different from the Miata, and it's really not much different. It's kind of like the luxury version of the Miata. The Miata was hooked up, and I could keep up with these guys, but I have way less tools than I have in this car. You know, it literally feels like I went from like a Corolla daily to a Mercedes or something. You know, I just have all these features that I didn't have before. I've got power steering, so I can steer with one hand. I've got a race transmission that just falls into gear, a handbrake that locks up no problem, and all the power I could ever ask for at my right foot. So for me, if anything, so far, it almost feels easier to drive. But, you know, time will tell. We'll have to see how it goes when we get into competition and battling people. The benefit the Miata has is I've driven it so long, I know all the nuances. I know kind of every situation it can get into and why and how to avoid that kind of stuff. And we just don't know that with this car. And we won't know until we get into those situations and say, oh, well, I threw it too hard on the transition and it went to full lock and wanted to over-rotate or whatever. So we still got a lot to learn, a lot of seat time to get in. The car still has a lot of potential left in it. We weren't able to get the grip kit on in time, and I don't want to do it without testing it first. We still got to get a front sway bar on the car so we can tune with sway bars. Like, the car itself has a lot of potential, and I have a lot of potential as a driver to learn the car and get more used to the car. So it feels like the sky's the limit, man. I can't believe it, you know? I can't believe we got in this car to this point in a pretty short amount of time, and we're getting ready to go compete with it. So I hope to see you guys for that. We got a list of things to do before we can take it to comp. So we got to get our hustle on, get this thing ready, and then we'll be loading it in the box and going to compete. So hope to see you guys for all of that. But for now, that is going to be it. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I sure hope to see you next time. Goodbye.